Hi, I'm Kimberly Allison from Starliner Music. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to continue with my series entitled Blues Solos with Comping. In these examples we go back and forth from lead guitar to rhythm guitar accompaniment, also known as comping, within the span of a 12-bar blues. First, I'll perform Blues Solo with Comping in the key of G, number 9, and then I'll break it down for you. Here we go. I hope you enjoy it. Let's break down Blues Solo with Comping in the key of G, number 9. In these exercises, we go back and forth between lead guitar and rhythm guitar accompaniment, also known as comping. So I've broken the 12-bar blues into 3 4-bar phrases. In each 4-bar phrase, we'll play a lick, go to some comping, play another lick, and go back to comping. And so we'll be alternating between lead guitar and rhythm guitar. And in this example, we'll be using one scale. We'll be using only the G blues scale. And we're going to be fingering this G blues scale around the 8th to 10th-ish fret area. For those of you who study the cage system, this is the C form. So if you imagine like taking a C7 chord and you move it towards a G7, that'll be up here at the 10th fret. We'll be playing in this area, and the octave shape looks like this. So these are both G's, but we're considering this C shape. And the minor pentatonic with the addition of the blue note is called the blues scale. So sometimes those terms are used interchangeably. I'm going to be using the G blues scale here in this area. Let's look at the fingering. So that was the G blues scale in the C form. Now that we've talked about the exercise and looked at the scale fingering, let's go on to part 1. Here's part 1. So we're going to start off with a pickup, and this is a triplet, and this triplet starts on the 5th of the scale. So we're going to pass through the blue note and end up at the 4th, and then come down the scale with a little bend on the minor 3rd, and then end on the root. So we're starting and ending on chord tones here, chord tones of G. And then we're going to go down to the 3rd fret for our G comping, and we'll start that with a power chord. So the power chord is a root and a 5th. Then we're going to make a quick visit. This is a C triad, so we're not really changing to a C chord, but we are briefly visiting it, and it's creating some harmonic motion around our G comping pattern. And then we're going to go to a G7 chord. Now this is an abbreviated voicing. We have the flatted 7, the 3rd, and the 5th of the chord here. And I'm hammering on into the major 3rd with my middle finger here. So because I'm hammering on from the note that's underneath the bar here, this is the minor 3rd, we're introducing a little bit of a minor bluesy element into the comping. So that's the comping pattern. And then we'll continue with another lick. And the lick starts here with a hammer on from the 4th of the scale to the 5th. And then another hammer on from the 7th of the scale to the root, the flatted 7. And then minor 3rd ending on the root. And then we go back to the G comping. So let's put all of that together. Here's part 1 again. On to part 2. Here's part 2. So we're going to start off again. We've got triplets and we've got a bend, and we're bending the note at the 10th fret on the 3rd string. That's the 7 of the scale, the flat 7. We're bending it a whole step to the root, and then going up the scale, the triplet, coming back down, and then we're ending on the note C, which is timed well because that is where we arrive at the C 7th chord. So we're starting with a bend to the G, and because we're kind of leaving off with the G bar, but then we're leading into the C bar so that we end our phrase on C. So there's our C, and then at that point we go to C comping, which is the same exact thing we did for G. We have a C power chord, and then we have a quick visit. This time it's an F triad, and then we have an abbreviated C 7th with a hammer here. So we just transpose that up to the 8th fret for C7. And then we're going to go back to our lead guitar part, and we're going to have a triplet bend. So I'm bending the B flat here to a C, and then playing the same note here. So that's a triplet. And then I'm coming down the scale, and I'm ending my note on the note that's the 3rd of the G chord. Now, fingered it's a minor 3rd, but I'm kind of bending it toward the major 3rd, so I'm bending this B flat toward B. And that times out well because that's where I arrive back at the G chord. And so after that lick, I go to the G comping at 3rd fret. Now let's put that together. On to part 3. Here's part 3. We're going to start on the and of 2, and this is an 8th note leading into a triplet figure with a hammer on. So, and triplet, triplet. So this first 8th note is hammered on into the triplet, and then we're going to pick the rest of the notes. And we're just using the blues scale here. Notice how I end the phrase on the note D. That's because I've arrived at the 5 chord D there, so I'm targeting this note as the root on the downbeat of the bar. And then I go to comping on C. Again, the C comping happens at the 12 bar where the C would normally occur on the turnaround part. And then we go back into our minor pentatonic lead. And we're going to come down the scale from C with a triplet, triplet, and then jump down here to the other C and use the blue note, and then end our lick on the note G because now I'm arriving at the G chord. And then I play a bit of a fill here, again using triplets, starting on G, and I'm going to give it a little slide, triplet, coming down the scale, and then jumping up to the minor 3rd, and then ending on the root G. And then I'm going to use the blue note to approach the 5 chord, and the 5 chord is abbreviated here, that's D7, so this voicing we have a root, a flatted 7, and a 3rd, just playing 3 notes of the dominant. And then I'm going to end on a G9th chord. So the G9th is voiced root, 3rd, flat 7, 9, and if you want you can put the 5th on the top. And that's the end. So let's put that together. That's it for Blues Solo with Comping in the key of G, number 9. I'm Kimberly Allison from Starliner Music, and I hope to see you back on my channel soon.